Hey guys, welcome to our review of Overcooked. So, this one's going to be a little bit different than the other ones because technically speaking, we didn't finish the game. The other ones that we've, excluding Phasmophobia because that game technically doesn't end. But like we've never, like with like Mario Bros. U Deluxe, that we beat, and then what was the other one we did? That was a long time ago. There was another one we did before that.
Part 34.
Yeah, that one. We beat that one as well. So like all the games we've done up to this point that can be beaten, we've beaten. This is the only exception because of how absolutely ridiculously hard this game was, and we just stopped because of it, really. So let's just get started, shall we? So game company / creator, Team 17. So I knew it was like there was a 7 in there somewhere. So Team 17, those are the people that made the game. I don't know much about them other than that they made Move Out or whatever.
Moving Out.
Moving Out. They made that game as well. That game's been pretty fun so far, and there hasn't been like we haven't been locked off of anything yet. And then they also obviously made the second one. I don't know what other games they've made as far as I'm aware, but I do know that they made like the games I just mentioned. Just based on what I know about them, I'd say they make pretty good looking style games. I would say that very much. The controls can be hit or miss sometimes. On Move Out, there's a couple controls I'm like, why is that the button for that? This game I didn't really find a button. The problem, so one of the things was, actually I'll go into this and then what can be improved actually, because I think it's better suited for that. But yeah, Team 17, just check them out. I think they do make pretty games, I should say. And they're not too expensive either, usually. So, moving on to what is done well. Well, like I just said, the graphics, but like that's a different section later. What I think is done well is the actual style of it, because I don't think any game has done this before, where you're, well, I mean, a lot of games have done like the whole cooking simulator thing before, but this game takes into a whole other direction, where you're kind of just like frantically trying to get everything done. You have like timer, you get tips and stuff. That's probably not really much of a thing, and so that is pretty cool. I loved the DLC. The DLC was very awesome. The levels were not too easy, but they weren't too hard, and it was just a cool time. So the Lost Morsel, that's like the jungle one where you have different things going on, and then we did, of course, the Christmas one where everything was nuts. There was that one map where like all the ingredients were scattered everywhere, and you had very minimal space to like work with, and I think that was a cool level. So there's individual levels that I think are done well. We'll get into what levels we absolutely hate. If you watch the series, you probably know which levels we hate. But like there's a couple mechanics. I think we had an ice level one point. We were cooking up fish on like an iceberg. That was really cool. So yeah, it's just individual levels, I would say. They were pretty good. Overall, I would say it's a mix, because like I said, there's some levels we really despised, and then there were some levels we really liked. So I don't know about the overall aspect of it, but I would say individually there's some really good levels. The music, I think, was generally pretty good as well. I wasn't really focused too much on the music when playing, honestly. I was more worried about other things, like trying to win. But I would say that the music's pretty good. The sound effects are all pretty good, but of course we go into that later. But I think that's all I can name right now, but unless it's in a different section that I remember. So, moving on to what could be improved. Now I do have some things for this one. The first one being is the difficulty spectrum is redonkulous. If you remember in our series, we got, what was it, World 3 we got to, and that's when we just had to stop because it required like, I forgot how much it required, but it was like they wanted an absurd amount of stars, and we would have needed to go to like multiple different levels and just 2-star them, you know. And I think we had actually 2-starred most of the levels. I think there were a couple levels that we didn't, but there were some levels that we like 3-starred and we still didn't have enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it just wanted like a really like.
So I'm looking on our screen around. It was 35, and I think we went back and got 33, and I think that was the most we could get. And that's 33 stars after 3-starring a couple levels. And so that to me is crazy. Like 3 stars should be like optional. 2 stars should be like, okay, you're good at the game. And then 1 star, if you can 1-star level, I think that's that should be your progress. The game should allow you to progress after you've 1-starred every level. I'm not a big fan of like the whole thing where it's like requiring stars, because that's a little strange. For example, all of World 1 except for 1 level, 2 levels, sorry, we have 3-starred. All but 2 we've 3-starred. And then World 2 was, I think, the desert one. Actually, there was 1 desert level, not. Those we mostly 2-starred, and so like I said, 2-star. I don't know why that's a penalty. The World 3, sorry, we mostly got 1 stars, but that's because they were really hard. But still, we got 1 stars. One we even got 2 stars, and then we got locked out of World 4 essentially because we only did the first level, got 1 star, and then we were locked. We were locked out. And I would say what could be improved definitely is that stupid boat level. That one is just like we're stupid hard for no reason. Like to a new player that like what we were back in the day, that was nuts. And eventually we will do. I don't know when this is going to come out. Probably sometime soon, when after recording this. But we will eventually do a conquering time on this game because I do want to revisit it. Maybe knowing the knowledge that we have now, maybe we're even better gamers. Who knows? But I do want to revisit it once, but if it's still impossible after that, I think the difficulty spike is nuts. And by the way, you don't select a difficulty. The game auto does that for you. And the reason I don't like the whole, like, requiring star system is Mario 3D World specifically does that thing where it's like, oh, it's requiring stars. But for that game, it's very reasonable. In this game, it is not reasonable at all. Like I said, we've 3-starred most levels, 2-starred a lot of them, and a couple of them are 1-stars, right? And that's still not enough. We're still missing 2 stars just to get to the next level. And I want to point out to you guys, obviously you're watching old footage, but there are so many more levels left. Like, how hard does this get? You know, like, how possibly hard can this get? And I wish I could see the end of the game, but we never got to it, so unfortunately that's just how it rolls. I think just in general, the difficulty needs to be way spiked down. And also, the one thing I had a grudge against as well is the only reason we found out that a dash existed was from our comment section. If people didn't tell us that, there was nothing in the game telling us, oh, hey, you can dash with B. Even on the waiting screen, it shows every control except that one.
We probably wouldn't have even passed World 3.
No, we would have been trapped, yeah. So, shout out to Egg, I believe it was him that said that. Literally, we would not have known, because the game didn't tell you.
We would have been screwed.
And so, and you can't tell me that, I mean, you could, I guess. If it shows up later in the game, why can we do it now? Like, if there's a control, you need to tell me what the control is, right? So that I had a little bit of a grudge against. I'm not sure why that wasn't. Maybe it was an oversight. I don't know. But I've been told in the second one the controls are much more outlined, so that's gonna be good. But those are the 2 main grudges I had against this game: is that the difficulty spike is massive for no reason, and that the B button seemed to serve no purpose, but it actually served a major purpose and actually resulted in most of the time us winning because dashing was super helpful. And also we found out you could throw things. It kind of told you that a little bit, but it didn't tell you that you could throw things to other people and they could grab it, like that kind of stuff. They don't tell you this stuff. And so I think if the controls were much more outlined, that wouldn't have been a problem. So, moving on to any problems or glitches. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever seen I would have to watch the series again, but I don't think there was a glitch that we encountered. So I think the bug and glitch department did really good on that. Because like I said, I don't think I've seen a glitch. There's a couple things where you like clip through things, but I think that's meant to happen. I'm not entirely sure. Like even in the overworld, you can push through trees, but like they get out of the way. There's some solid things like tree trunks and stuff like that. So I don't think there's any glitches. And then in terms of actual levels, I don't think so. Like when I would pick up an item, it let me pick up an item, unless I of course made a mistake and like myself made a mistake and didn't grab it or something like that. There's never a time like, oh, I pressed the A button, why didn't I grab it, or like something like that. So I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Moving on to controls. So besides the B button that doesn't exist apparently, you can walk around and the controls are pretty simple. I think it's A to chop things if you're the cutter, and it's A to also pick up things. A does a lot actually, because I think doesn't holding A also throw it, or is that one of the triggers? I forgot what it was.
I think it's one of the triggers.
I don't believe it.
Honestly, can't remember.
Either way, the controls are very, very simple. I don't think they're too complicated. But they also, like, they tell you can, like, move, or, like, they're on the control screen, for example, they're showing that you can dash with the stick. That's not how that works. So I'm not entirely sure why they did that. But anyway, there's a couple of controls that are like, the controls itself is fine. There's just missing controls that they're not showing. And the screen, if you remember back to the series, or if you just look it up, I guess, the screen is filled with two different controller schemes. So it's the normal Joy-Cons and then the combined controller Joy-Con thing. If they ran out of space, why not just get rid of one of the controllers? Like, we know, if you're teaching us about the Joy-Con and how that works, you don't need to do the combination one. Like, we know how that works. And so I would have, like, and I don't think it would have been that much effort to put in, hey, the B button makes you dash, that might be important later. I don't know. I just think that should have been outlined, and it clearly wasn't. And like I said, that's why we didn't know what it was for the first couple episodes, because we had to have Egg tell us, or whoever told us. So there's some controls, but there's some missing controls, like I said, and what can be improved on. So moving on to graphics. I think the graphics is honestly what carries this game. I think the graphics are awesome. I think that the art is awesome, especially like in the comic book style when they're teaching about how to make a recipe. I think that looks really cool, and just the overall layout of the game too, like the timer, the coin thing, even the stuff around the kitchen you're in. They put so much detail into it that I think that the actual world building is really cool. So yeah, I think the graphics is what carries the game. There's not too much to say about it. I just think that it obviously is a super realistic game. Absolutely not. But it does look really cool, and I think it looks kind of cartoony, I think is the word I would use to describe the game. But that's what I'd say there. So moving on to sound. Like I said about sound before, it's really good. I wasn't too focused on it, and you probably won't be either. You're probably going to be focusing on screaming at your teammates because they're doing terribly. What? Anyway, so that's kind of what I feel about the music. It's just kind of like, it's good background music, I would say. The overall music I don't remember too much of, so it's not like super noteworthy, I would say. But it is good music. It's not bad music by any means. It's just not super noteworthy. Moving on to story and characters. The story, from what I gathered, was that there is a spaghetti monster dude that was taking over the planet or whatever, and we had to feed him, and he was like super hungry all the time, so he lost. We had to travel through a different dimension or whatever that we're in now, and we're feeding people. That's all. The story to me is kind of all over the place, but well, I don't know. I never actually got to see it because we got soft locked in the game. So, and then in terms of characters, there's not really characters here. It's really just whoever you pick as your main dude. They don't have voice lines. They don't say anything really. So, but you know, I always played as the dude with the glasses. Zach played as the dude with the mustache, and Isabel played as the girl with whatever she had on. So they're cool looking characters. They're just not interesting characters because I don't think they're meant to be interesting. They're just placeholders for you. So keep that in mind. Moving on to replayability. This game, if you remember the last review we did, which well, actually no, not the last review. The last one for you guys was Mario Party 4. The last one for us right now was the Mario Bros. U Deluxe that's up right now for us. That one, or no, I think it was Mario Party. I talked about how there's 3 stages of replayability for me. There's limited, so it ends at some point. Technically unlimited, because it's like, for example, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is technically unlimited because you can play it any number of times and still get kind of somewhat different results, but it's still kind of the same. And then there's fully unlimited, where like Minecraft, where every time you go into a new game, it's completely different mechanics, completely different kind of story, because you're building your own story, for example, and like that kind of stuff. So this, I would say, definitely goes into the limited category. I guess you can put it in technically unlimited, because you can technically play the game forever. It doesn't end. I mean, it does end. Like, there's an end to the story and there's an end to the levels. Even in the DLC, there's an end. So technically speaking, you can play it over and over again, but it will be the same content after you beat it the first time. So keep that in mind as well. Moving on to personal takes. This game's indifferent for me. I wish it was better, because it definitely deserved to be on the channel. I wish that we had gotten to the end of the game. It was just so frustrating that like we didn't want to continue, and that's kind of what brought it down. And I'm really hoping when we do Overcooked 2, because I've heard good things about Overcooked 2, that it will be better. That's all I can say about that, because I'm just hoping that it's better next time around. We'll go to Zach.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I really wanted to see like where the story was gonna go and like the ending. It's just the difficulty really dragged this game down for me, and like not explaining the controls, like how are we supposed to find out? And if it is supposed to be later, how do you expect us to do all the hard levels without it? Like, do they expect us to do that? Like, the difficulty just drags it down for me, but yeah, I really wanted it to be better with that stuff.
Alright, Isabel?
Yeah, same thing what you guys were saying. The difficulty just makes it, it just makes it a lot more worse, and I wish the levels would not be so hard. And something that, like, to kind of be a solution to that would be, like, depending on how many players you have, you can be given an option to have maybe like an AI to help you, so they can help you cook stuff. So either if you're playing alone, or you can have more people with you, so you can actually beat the level.
Yeah, so I believe when you play solo, you have a teammate, I guess. It's like an AI, I presume. But I don't know how that works. We never played alone. We played with the three of us, obviously. So I don't know exactly how it works. All I know is that I'm pretty sure it's a teammate. I don't know if it's just an AI or if you have separate button controls for them. I'm not exactly sure what they do, because like I said, we never played with the one. So if you guys have played by yourself, you have to let us know how that works for you guys. But so like keep in mind that we're in the perspective of like we played this just with the three of us. So yeah, just keep that. Is that all you wanted to say?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to, is it worth it? So, Overcooked on Switch, which is what we were using. This might be different elsewhere. But Overcooked on Switch is $40 actually, unless it's on sale. And $40, that's not cheap for a game. I do gotta say, it's not exactly cheap for a game. So, you know, to me, I would say the experience we had with it, I don't know if we paid $40. I don't think we did. But if I had paid $40 for this game, I'd honestly say no. Because I would honestly say, from what I've been told, I would save your money for the second one. Because, like I said, we got soft locked to the point where we're like, well, this game is frustrating. We don't want to do it. Because I've said multiple times on not just like reviews and stuff, but like, if a game frustrates me too much, I'm either taking a break from it or I don't want to play it anymore. For example, Metroid Dread unfortunately had that same effect, where it's like, this game is so frustrating. Why is it so frustrating? And it kind of, I don't know, it kind of put me off of the game, but we'll still do it, obviously. I'm just taking a break from it for right now. But I think that's just kind of what it is. So I would honestly say no. I don't think it is. At the current price it is right now, I would probably say no. So that's just my opinion on it. So, moving on to final rating out of 10. So, because of everything I've said at this point, I think we didn't even want to beat it. And that to me is not a good game. And I told this to Zach and Isabel during our meeting. For you guys, I don't know when that would have been. But we have meetings every Sunday, and I told them this, that, like, 1 is a game I would never even play at gunpoint. Like, that's how bad that game is. 2 is like, you know, if I'm being pointed with a gun, I mean, alright, fine, but I'm not going to enjoy it. The third one is like, I'm still being pointed at it with a gun, but I'm going to have a little bit of enjoyment out of it. 4 of it's like, okay, this is not a great game at all, but I'd still play it if the situation required it. 5 is like, it's not a great game, but I would still play it again. So I think I gotta go with 5. I think that's the lowest I've rated something, but we literally got to a point where we didn't want to play it anymore. And that, to me, kind of spells out, like that to me dips it down like 4 numbers. I think this could have been an 8 or a 9 game, but because just purely based on the difficulty, it sank it down to a 5 for me, I think. So I think that's what I'm gonna leave it at. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 5.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. This game could have been like so good, but the difficulty like just sank it down. And like if you're not even wanting to beat it, that's like a telltale sign that like yeah, this isn't really that good of a game. So yeah, I'd probably say 5.
Yeah, so before Isabel gets her thing, I wanted to jump in the game and test what the single player was. It's really strange, and this really seems like this is a game you should play with friends, because it's like you're soul swapping. So pressing a button swaps it to your other character, and so, but keep in mind that the other character cannot do anything while you're playing as one. So this has got to be like immensely difficult to play solo. It's probably even worse if I'd imagine. So like I said, the difficulty is really unbalanced and it's really unfair. So that's why I mean they're going to 5. But what do you think as well?
I'm also gonna go with 5 because mainly just the difficulty just brings it down. It could have been, if they like balanced out the difficulty, it could have been like a 7 or 8. But I'm gonna go with 5.
Yeah. Like I said, the difficulty is the thing that brought it down. I'm hoping when we play Overcooked 2 that it is not that ridiculous, because even just, what was it, I think it was 1-3, right? That was the first ship level we encountered.
Yeah,
that level literally almost made me want to quit. Just that level alone made me want to quit, but we didn't quit on that one. We kept going. But it was like the ship level, because it was moving all around. It did make it into the best moments, because obviously it was the best moment of the game. But like, I don't know, it just really, it made me not want to play it. Not just that level, but like a lot of the levels. It just made me not want to play it. It wasn't that fun. And we tried to do level like 4-1, for example. That was like the one we got 1 star on. We tried to go back and get like a 2nd or 3rd star, and we worked hard. Like, we weren't doing that bad, and we still couldn't do it. And to me, that tells me that it's not that great of a game. So I'm hoping that when we get to the 2nd one, it will be better. That's all I can hope for. So, that's going to be it from us, guys. So, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope this review helped you in any way to either buy the game or not buy the game, depending on what you wanted to do with it. And we will see you guys next time.